Hey everyone, Jody Dean here, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about mistakes I've made on my spiritual awakening journey. Now, it's been a long one, so I'm just going to talk about a couple of them to keep it fairly brief. But, I had various stages of awakening, and it was really in my 20s that was the big one, right? And now, some of you may or may not know about the Saturn return and what Saturn does in our birth charts, but it is like the grand equalizer. It is that which will pull you back into your path. And, if you're not kind of doing the thing that you're meant to do, it'll give you a whack. It doesn't mean you're going to then do the thing, but it will swing you towards it, and it's up to you whether to to roll with Saturn's punch or to veer off in another direction and not take the lesson. So what happened for me was that I had this massive awakening where I kind of like, for a couple of weeks at least, I was in a Satori space, which was just immense bliss, freedom, knowing my eternal self and knowing myself as the eternal, infinite consciousness. And it was a lot to integrate all of that back into my body, into my personality, into my life, and understand myself in that context, understand reality within that context. And in some ways I'm still integrating that, right? And I kind of veered to the other direction, where I was like, well, now that I know I'm the infinite eternal self, all the love, all the wisdom, all the being that is, was, and ever will be, then it doesn't really matter what I do, right? And that was kind of interesting because it was you could say it was a sneaky way for my shadow to come back in and my ego to come back in. And so, once you've had like just a life-changing experience like that, a life-changing awakening realization like that, nothing else really compares, and it was almost like nothing else really mattered. And so that's what it felt like, or at least that's what my shadow self, let's say, was telling me, to kind of gain back its supremacy. And so after around 4 years of, that was in India at the time, and then I came back a few months later after the Satori, the awakening kind of, and then I went back to university and, trying to kind of do that life, and I finally graduated and everything else, and then I found myself in Barcelona in Spain, and stayed there and joined a theatre company. And I was there in this theatre company and having a good time, and then I found myself kind of not so much in the spiritual realms anymore, and not meditating and not doing awareness practices, but living a life, right? I was traveling all around Spain and acting and having a very interesting time in a new culture, learning a new language and all that good stuff. And it's very stimulating. But on some level I kind of lost my way because I wasn't living what I knew, and I was kind of adapting and trying to fit into this new culture. And then, then it was like, Spain, they kind of, they drink and they eat well and everything else. And so I kind of was doing that, and not in excess, but I was doing that, and then I was started smoking pot again, and I was kind of hanging out with a couple of friends that were just kind of like doing that like a lot, and drinking a lot of beer. And so I kind of like found myself doing that again. So I wasn't doing any spiritual practice, I wasn't meditating, I wasn't really living on purpose, I wasn't really motivated. And a crazy thing happened. I got arrested. I was found doing something naughty. And let's just say it wasn't a good 3 days. And that was the Saturn return time. And it was just like suddenly like, wake up, like get your act together, Jody, like get back on the path. It was so strong, it was so extreme, it was so hard, a real hard knock, like a really, really hard knock. And yeah, jail for 3 days. And then coming out of that was just like, oh my goodness. And there was a point in that jail that I thought I would actually stay in there for the next year. And terrifying. It was terrifying. My life kind of flashed before me. I had a panic attack. But I did find myself doing yoga and meditating in the cell. Because I was like, okay, let's get down to business. Let's get back to basics. You've got nothing to do in this cell, but you can be with yourself. You can meditate. You can do yoga. And that was kind of like the reset. So I came out of there and I was like, right, I'm done with drinking. I'm done with smoking pot. I'm done with this. Starting afresh, starting anew. Let's start again. And so I immediately went and found people and places that were echoing and reflecting spirituality and my true purpose in life. And I met a friend in the street, and he was like, dude, I told him my story, and he was like, dude, you've got to raise your vibration. And so I just totally did that. I pulled all the stops out. I gave up tobacco, I gave up pot, I gave up drinking, completely sober, and started doing Kundalini yoga. There was a great studio that was offering like 40-day classes where you do like a Kriya and get up at like 5:30 in the morning and do this work, do these Kriyas, and it was so empowering. It was amazing. I was loving it, and I found a whole new community just like that instantly. Made great new friends, all really connected, spiritual people living in the heart, and that just totally changed my reality. And that community, that heart-centered, spirituality-focused group of people, were absolutely the medicine that I needed. And I was back on the path and getting connected to myself. And I found teachings of Abraham Hicks around that time, and a few other great teachers and authors, and just got really connected back to source. Eckhart Tolle as well, really connected back to source and into who I am, really. And then I found myself got the opportunity to do a rebirthing breathwork training, and that was just like off the charts, down in the south of Spain, and met Nassim Haramein, the scientist who works with the vacuum and incorporates a lot of ancient civilization understanding and knowledge with sacred geometry into physics and the unified kind of field theory, and is now creating amazing technology in the world and changing the reality we live in forever. So there were a few people I met, and it was a game-changing time for me. Okay, so it was back swinging of the pendulum the other way, from excess to sobriety and purity, and working with consciousness again. And and then I started actually, working as a practitioner, as a rebirthing breathwork practitioner. And then I did a group meditation called the ALM. I did a facilitator training in that, and that was amazing. That was life-changing. That was connected with Osho, and it was a very radical kind of approach and very powerful, very heart-opening, going through all the different emotions and everything else. It's a social meditation that you do in a group over a 2.5-hour period, like very intense, tantric, radical, powerful, purifying as well, and you release so much during that. So that was, I was back on track, and I fell off the rails completely, and I got back on track. And when I think about this is like the one big mistake I made in terms of my spiritual awakening process, was to kind of get complacent, and let the shadow self, the ego, get back in and kind of get into my world and start messing things up again. So that was it, really. I was, very blessed to all of it, really. Very blessed to have all of it. So yeah, that was the mistake I say would be the most, important mistake I made in the spiritual awakening process. So, look, I hope this has been helpful for you, and I'd love to know your mistakes you've made in your spiritual awakening process. Please share any feedback and everything else. If you'd like help, then let me know. We can have a one-on-one call, book an accelerator session with me. Click on the link in the description, and or comment accelerate, and we'll get that sorted for you. All right, so I've been Jody Dean, spiritual coach, purpose alignment mentor, and the website is jodydeane.co. And so anything you need, let me know, and do like, subscribe, comment, click the notification bell. All right, blessings to you, take care, and I'd love to know what you thought of this video. All right, bye for now. See you in the next video.